It is time to debunk the myth that curiosity killed the cat. Curiosity allowed the cat to get to a safe place on the windowsill where it can bask in the sun and you can really learn what that cat needs. That's my analogy for today. Today we are going to be talking about 3 tips that can help you get curious to create space and allow you to understand what people need so that you can take intentional action. So often during my speaking gigs and while I am culture coaching, I will have people ask questions that are always about one specific person in their life that is giving them a challenge. So it might be a coworker that they struggle to communicate with, or it might be their boss, or it might be someone on their team that just isn't pulling their weight. And this person has specific questions for me about how to interact with them. And my answer is almost always get curious. So that is exactly what we are going to do today. Welcome to episode 15 of the What If It Works podcast, a podcast for leadership and culture development so that you can up your communication skills and create a thriving culture around you for yourself and others. I'm excited you're here. Let's get into it. Sometimes it's just easier to react, right? We're at work, someone comes at us with a question, and we just want to answer it and move on. And if this is a question we have heard more than once, we are definitely ready to react with a little bit of emotion because I've already answered this question. I've already told you this information, right? And now we are even snappier in our response. And now no one is to blame for this type of reaction. At work, sometimes we can be in high momentum states where we are trying to get things done and be productive and meet our goals, and questions seem like they are going to take time away from us. But I am here to tell you that that is just not always true. What if you took the opportunity to really understand the question and the problem that was being brought to you so that you don't need to continue hitting this problem over and over and over on the head, right? What if we can take one opportunity, and yes, it may take a little bit more time, maybe a few extra minutes, maybe even longer, but by listening to the problem, understanding it fully, and then taking intentional actions, we can actually save ourselves time, probably save your company money, and definitely save you and your other team members some stress. So let's talk about 3 things you can do to get curious when questions arise so that you can handle them with confidence and truly set yourself and others up for success. Tip number 1 actually comes from episode 6, I believe, the first phrases that work. And it was the phrase, why do you ask? Now, why do you ask is a question. And typically coming back from a question with a question can be kind of odd at first. But I want to tell you that when someone comes up and asks you a question that starts to trigger a response in you before you even use your words, I want you to pause and use this phrase because it's going to do a couple of things. Today we're talking about getting curious, and asking the question, why do you ask, is being very curious about the specific situation. It is going to allow you to do a couple things. Number 1, take a breath. Number 1, get that triggered emotion to just calm right down, right? So by asking a question, you are going to start to create space between you and the problem or you and this person. When you ask that question, the other person, is going to be forced to get specific on why they are asking this specific question. Recently, actually just today, I had a client who said, hey, I used your why do you ask last week. And here's what happened. On Thursday, he had one of his shop members say, when are we getting done tomorrow? Will we be done by 11 o'clock on Friday? And instead of my client getting frustrated that it depends, how hard are you going to work? Are you going to get your checklist done? Are we going to have everything, all these projects done by tomorrow at 11? If yes, then yes, you'll be able to go. If not, we expect you here until 2 o'clock because that is when your shift ends. Now that is what my client has said in the past. And because we had a conversation last Monday, he said, I went with, oh, why do you ask? And this gentleman replied that in the afternoon, he was hoping to be able to go to his son's school for some sort of event. And now my client could very calmly explain, because now he had taken a breath while he said, why do you ask? He listened that his teammate was hoping to go be with family. And now he could change his response from what he would have said in the past to say, the goal is that we are out of here by 11 a.m. tomorrow. And if we all work hard and make sure the project checklists are done, you are going to be able to be with your family tomorrow afternoon. However, I cannot promise that to be true because we still have a lot of things on our checklist. Is there anything that you have taken off this checklist so that I can move it off of our plate and we can continue working? And that coworker was then able to say, oh, I got asked to finish this. I'll have that done by the end of today so we don't have to do it tomorrow. And now they were in a brainstorming session of how they could make sure all the work is done by 11, because this coworker had a want and a desire to be with family that he was willing to put in maybe a little more intense work ethic so that he could make that happen. And I asked my client, so how'd that feel? And he said, at first, I was worried at how he was going to respond because he does not normally ask a question when asked a question. And he said, it went so well. And I was able to understand the reason he was asking instead of giving my response and then say, why do you want to know? So this was just a great example of allowing some space, getting curious about what that coworker was truly asking about so that he could confidently respond. And that's what I want you thinking about. Remember your tone. We're not coming back with, why do you ask? We're simply taking a breath, giving ourselves a moment to understand their question more thoroughly. This weekend, I actually asked my husband a very loaded question, and he came back to me with, why do you ask? So the story that I share in an earlier episode where I used why do you ask to calm myself down, my husband this weekend used why do you ask when I said, how late are you working tonight? And instead of saying, I'll be home at 5, which is his usual response, he said, why do you ask? And then I was able to share the reason for that question. And then he was able to come back with, oh, I could switch some things up so that I can help you with that. It was just an awesome moment. I had a grin ear to ear because he is now using that strategy that I have used on him so many times. I'm going to interrupt really quickly before we get to tip number 2 and number 3 to let you know about an exciting opportunity. If you are listening to this in real time, it is Halloween 2023, and this week you have the opportunity to join the Lead with Impact November cohort, which starts on Sunday, November 5th. This is an opportunity for you to go through the IMPACT impact model from top to bottom. No one has had an opportunity to do this yet, because when I do my speaking engagements, I always include the I and the T, and then I pick out 2 other letters that I'm going to focus on based on what leadership has asked me to put in as a focus. If you have attended any of my courses, you will know that we typically only get to 2 letters within each of those. And so now there is a way in the month of November for you to get information and strategies of each of the modules. And then, even better than that, is that you get live weekly coaching. Here's what it looks like. On Sunday, you will get a video module that you are able to watch sometime Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday morning. Then on Thursday, there will be a live coaching call. This will be where we come together. People are able to ask questions about the content from Sunday, and we'll be able to coach you through the material and talk about specific examples that you can use for your specific situation. That is what I absolutely love about the Impact Method, is you could be a bank teller and apply this to your situation, but you could also be a manufacturing plant manager and be able to apply this. You could be a basketball coach. You could be a mom of 4 little kids. This is for leaders who want to create a culture where people around them can thrive. And absolutely, that is for teachers, that is for parents, that is for business owners, that is for managers. The reason we are doing this cohort in November is so that you can get the information, work with the information, and really start to push those action plans into action from the months of November and December to start the year off in the best possible space and really set your team up to reach their potential in 2024. Now, you're probably wondering, what is the cost of this cohort? I want you to know that I want this cohort available to so many people so that we can really start the shift for 2024. I want all of you creating thriving cultures where your people are just excited to be at work. They are handling problems with clear communication, and they are working together to reduce stress and increase productivity. This cohort is only $87. The reason that we have priced this to be so open for all of you is we want to start 2024 just on fire. And in order to do that, I want as many people in this cohort as possible, working together, collaborating with each other, learning the information, applying the information, and then getting coached so that they are moving forward so confidently. If you have any questions about this cohort, I would love to get an email from you. It is impact@annvote.com. Check out the website link. It's www.annvote.com/lead-with-impact. This is all in the show notes and the description of this podcast. So go ahead and check that out. Click on that link. Get your spot by Friday, November 3rd at midnight. Get your spot today. All right, let's get back into it. Here comes tip number 2. Tip number 2 is an expansion on number 1. When you have someone coming at you not with a question, but instead with a statement of frustration, right? Where we can't ask, why do you ask? We can't just ask one question to understand the situation. We are instead going to ask or state, thank you for bringing this to me. Help me understand the full situation. So number 2, we are going to ask a lot of questions. We are going to get very curious. This is especially for when you see that frustrated employee, that frustrated teammate, your frustrated spouse come at you with a statement that you know is a loaded statement. And instead of reacting to the loaded statement with sarcasm or a snappy response or because it's your job, right? We are simply going to pause, take that breath, right? And say, thank you for bringing this to me, or it sounds like we need to talk about this. Help me understand the full situation. And then you are going to start asking questions to get clear on what is the real problem? So often when we go to talk to someone about a problem we're having, with some curiosity and with some questions, we find out that the actual reason we came to talk to them, the actual problem, is something totally different. And so making sure that we are clear on the full situation and understanding the full story, and then getting clear on, so what you're telling me is this is the problem. So for example, you work at a bank and you have a teammate who comes to talk about another teammate and says, Lisa is never in her office when I need her. And I don't even know if she's working. She is out talking. She is out in other people's cubicles. She is never where I need her when I need her. Okay? And you're going to say, okay, help me understand the full situation here. What kind of things are you needing from Lisa? Okay? And maybe they share that they're unclear on how to do a couple things. And Lisa was their original mentor. And now they're frustrated that their original mentor is not available for them. But you know that there is maybe somebody else who is more available that could help this person get their questions answered. One question could help you clarify that. Let's go back to, that's the situation, right? And they're upset. And you say, what time of day are you typically trying to find Lisa? And you find out it's always over Lisa's lunch hour. And now you have a way to say, looking for Lisa between the hours of 8 and 11 is going to be your best time of day if you do have a question for her. Or I know she responds really well to email. And so it sounds like the problem is that you have some questions that you need answered. And when you go to find her, you can't find her, but you still are looking for the answers to your questions. And so maybe utilizing email where she can respond to you as soon as she gets back to her desk, maybe that would be a better solution. Do you see how we're asking questions to get clear, to find out what the real problem is? The other thing you might find is that there really isn't a need for this employee to go find Lisa. That's just their comfort person. It's just, like I said, the person they've always gone to. And maybe they don't know that there's a resource within the bank computer system where they can get those questions answered even faster. And they don't need to utilize Lisa and leave their own space to go find the answer. And so now we are able to connect them with the correct resources. So this tip this tip is solely ask questions until you identify the specific problem, because what people bring to you might not be what is the actual problem under the surface. And so asking specific questions to get clear, and you might even need to prep them with, help me understand the full situation. I'd love to ask you a few questions so I can get really clear on the full situation, right? And hopefully nobody gets defensive over that, because most of the time when people are coming to talk to you and they are frustrated, they are looking for a couple of things. They're looking to be heard, they're looking to be understood, they're looking to be validated, and they're looking for help. And so by you asking questions, you actually allow them to be heard even more. You definitely allow them to be understood as well. Which brings me to tip number 3. Help them feel validated. And now, no, I do not want you to say, yeah, that is really frustrating when Lisa's not in her office. That is not validation. And that is not going to help you with your workplace culture if you are throwing other people under the bus. Instead, tip number 3 is I hear you. The phrase, I hear you. I hear you. I hear your frustration with this situation. That is validating someone's feelings and someone's emotions. We're not validating or justifying that someone is at fault. We are validating their feelings and their emotions. Following I hear you, you may need to ask for some time. Because now, if you've used the other strategies, you've said, why do you ask? You've understood the full situation. Maybe you need some time to really decompress yourself because this person came at you with so much energy and maybe so much frustration and so much anger. But you need some space to really think through everything they said. Or maybe you need to go talk to Lisa about the situation as well, right? And so I hear you. I understand your frustration. I am going to need a little space. I'm going to need a little time to think through what you've shared with me, to think about a solution. And now, if you know my problem solving, my 2-minute problem solving technique, you would go into that right here by making sure you've identified the problem and going into that 2-minute problem solving technique. Without knowing that technique, you can still move forward, which is, I hear you. I want to take this information, think about it a little bit, and help devise a plan to move forward. Or you might even need to say, I hear you. I understand your frustration. Before I come up with a solution for this, I do want to talk to Lisa. I'm going to do that today, and I'll come back to you tomorrow, and we can have another conversation and really solve this problem. Giving yourself, I hear you, allows them to really decompress. It allows you to take this information in and even just take a second or two to really calm the situation down. And then it allows you to make an action. Now, maybe in that situation, while they were explaining things, you figured out a solution that you want to move forward with. And so then you can say, I hear you. I understand your frustration. I'm wondering if, and then you give your solution. I'm wondering if this is something we could do moving forward. And then you get agreement. What do you think about that? You have a discussion. And remember, the goal of all of this curiosity is to give yourself space, gain clarity, and then create intentional actions moving forward to really help the situation. Let's review. Tip number 1, when asked a question that you know the answer to, but is kind of feeling like a loaded question, instead of going with a reaction right away, we are going to say, oh, great question. Why do you ask? That's going to allow you to get clear on the reason for asking. Tip number 2 was, help me understand the full situation, right? Now we're going to ask a lot of questions to fully understand the situation and what's going on with them, what's really going on, right? Dig a little deeper to find the true problem. And then tip number 3, curiosity, validation, right? I hear you. I understand your frustration. And then give yourself some space to make a decision or create a plan of intentional actions. And as you know, my favorite question to ask at the end of every episode is, what if it works? What if that frustrated teammate feels heard, feels understood, gets the help they need, and life is a little bit better for you and for them? What if you using this strategy helps them model how to react when someone else at work comes at them with frustration? What if the next time that happens, they approach them with curiosity and they solve the problem together without even needing to get you involved? Again, think about the time you are going to be able to save by getting curious when the situation arises. Think about the stress you are going to be willing to reduce by allowing someone to be heard, allowing them to feel validated and understood and get the help they need. And then imagine the money you are going to save because these problems are going to be handled immediately and have a clear solution with them. Just imagine, what if it works? I want you thinking about who are the people that come to you that typically stress you out because they come at you instead of come to you. I really want to empower you to use curiosity to help ease that situation, calm it down a notch or two, and set that teammate or your boss up for success in a future situation. I just think this is such a beautiful way to handle so many frustrating parts of our job or of our life at home, that this could really change the momentum that you have at work and your outlook of work and the people that you work with. Let me know if you try some of this and what your results are. I absolutely love hearing from my listeners. I will tell you that podcasting is so weird because I talk to you in my office space by myself, and then I just have to hope that you either message me or hope that you soak in the information and use it. I have no idea who's listening. You can't see, it's not like an Instagram or a Facebook post where you can see who likes your material. And so if this is impactful, if you feel moved or you have questions about this episode, please shoot me an email, impact@anvote.com, or send me a message on Facebook or Instagram. I am truly here to serve. There is no way on podcasting that I am gaining from anything. It is truly giving and serving and supporting. And I hope that is what you feel as you are listening to these episodes. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for working hard to create a space around you where you and others thrive, because truly what you're doing is making the world a better place. So continue doing what you're doing and go out there and create change.